child doesn't get 100 on 100 in math doesn't mean that he does not have the potential to be a good artist. Solving the external is going to solve the internal.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rangman Show. Today we have a very special guest for you. We have Dr. Michelle Shah. Hi Dr. Michelle.
Hello, hello.
Dr. Michelle Shah is MD in Paediatrics. She also happens to be the first lifestyle pediatric medicine specialist in India, and she's also done like a Masters in Public Health from Harvard University. इतनी पढ़ाई मैंने आज तक कभी नहीं की है. So very welcome to the show. I'm very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
I just want to have a question because we've been talking about overachievement, like so you're such an overachieving child and something like that. How does generational trauma sort of play a role in it? Because I can understand that, you know, when your parents, and I'm not saying in general your parents, in general when parents are kind of sort of, they want the child to do more and more and more and more, and they want to achieve something that they've not done it, and they kind of impose it on their kids. Was it sort of like a case with you, and is that what inspired you, or do you think it's something like, you know, you've seen it happen around with your friends that, you know, their parents were expecting too much out of them and later they could not really achieve what they wanted to, and that kind of enabled you to get into this?
So just to start off with, it was definitely not that something. It was not something that happened to me.
Superb.
So I kind of found my own path as I went along, and it was not on the expectations of what my parents had, that I should do this, I shouldn't do that. But when we think about generational trauma or generational patterns, what we fail to understand is that we do inherit them. Like, for example, we all have one drawer in our homes which is filled with plastic bags, which we tend to hoard. We don't really want to get rid of them. We don't know when we'll be using it. And of course, from a recycling perspective, it's very good to have that drawer. But also things like when we get a hamper or we want to store those baskets that come during Diwali, we don't really get rid of it. But if we ask ourselves why do we have this instinct of hoarding things, of storing things? Why did our parents not let us use new things that freely? Like, you can only wear a new outfit on your birthday or on Diwali. Why did these patterns really start? And if we think back many years ago, we all had ancestors who grew up in an environment where they had a lack of everything that they needed. Perhaps it was a lack of food, perhaps it was a lack of security, they didn't feel safe. Perhaps it was a lack of healthcare availability, access, so many different things that they might not have gotten. Somewhere in our DNA, those patterns of facing a lack have been stored so deeply that that's what we pass on through multiple generations.
Got it.
And we now understand this on a very scientific perspective also. To people who might be listening, they'll be like, no, but you know, I hoard because of this reason, or I like to keep my things for this reason. But we do have some amount of scientific backing when I talk about this. It's this field called epigenetics. And it basically means that if you think about our genes to be like a library, right? So a library has so many different books. Each book is our gene. The epigenetic markers are like the librarian who owns that library or who works there. She goes around in that library, cleans it up, tells you that this book is a bestseller, you need to read it. That book is out of date now, you need to put it away. Similarly, these epigenetic tags in our own DNA have the ability to change what we express. And the beauty of epigenetics is that it's dependent on our lifestyle. So if I were to think about having a child, then my lifestyle influences what that child's genes express to a certain extent, and the same would be for my husband as well.
So nature versus nurture also sort of comes into play.
Exactly. That I don't like to say that it's only nature or it's only nurture. It's a mix of everything, and we really have to be conscious of that when we think about generational patterns.
So how does one as a parent, so it's very unsure for what kind of an environment to give a kid, right? In terms of the, like you said, the nature versus nurture thing. It's very interesting because as a parent, because I'm not a parent right now, but if I were to become a parent, there are so many doubts that plague my mind, that how does one bring up their kid in today's time? So how much exposure is right? How much playtime should I give my kids? What kind of schooling, what kind of education do I impart? Do I let them follow their dreams? Do I actually give them a more structured life? That's sort of it's very confusing for parents, especially today, right? Because like you rightly said, pehle ke samay there was not too much you didn't have a choice. You could either be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer and stuff like that. But right now there are too many choices, right? So I think parents are also a little confused as to how to make the right choice for their own kids, right?
I feel like when you, like for example, very instinctively to you, the statement was that how do parents make a choice for their children? But they don't have to. They don't necessarily have to make a choice that my child is going to wake up and when he's 25 years old, he'll become a doctor. Why should they do that when there are options which sometimes children pick up careers which don't even exist? Like I picked up a career which doesn't even exist.
True.
Pediatric lifestyle medicine is not a very generic path to following medicine or following an MD Pediatrics. There was no need for me to go to the US and do public health. But I chose to forge a very different path. And my parents could have never predicted that, no matter what they would have tried to inculcate in me. So after a point in time, you just need to let a child be their own person also. I think what parents can do though is understand what skills are necessary in the environment that kids are growing up in today. So when we think about AI, AI is so widely spread in every industry today.
Right.
Who knows that 20 years later how important cognitive intelligence will be? Perhaps we won't even be talking about intellect of a human being anymore, because why do I need someone's brains to do something which a computer can do for me?
Right.
But what do I need a human being for that emotional connection that they can have?
Absolutely.
Perhaps if someone who's listening to this, maybe they might have gotten all the information that I'm saying if they did a Google search, if they really looked deep, they read some research papers, went in and in. Right. But they wouldn't be able to do what I do. I wouldn't, like for example, I can give someone personalized advice, or I can give someone something which makes sense for their family.
Exactly.
I can understand the emotion that they are coming to me with. Can a machine do that? Never.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you were realistic, no.
No.
So that's a skill that we want children to learn. We want them to be more emotionally intelligent. And when we make it all about the result, when everything is so result oriented, they forget about the emotional connections. They forget about what the other person is feeling. They forget about what should I be seeing so that this other person doesn't feel that way.
Right.
What we call emotional intelligence. So I think after say 20-25 years, when today's kids are becoming adults and young adults, at that time perhaps emotional intelligence is going to far outweigh cognitive intelligence.
Got it. And that's where the prefrontal cortex sort of fully develops. As far as I'm not a medicine man, so I don't know, but I've heard that till 25 your prefrontal cortex develops, and that is where your actual decision making sort of kicks in and stuff.
Correct,
like that.
Exactly. So it's at 25 when the prefrontal cortex really develops, and that governs a lot of our intuition and a lot of our decision making, and also a lot of strategy. Like if I do this, then this will happen. If I do that, then this is the sequential step. So a lot of teenagers, for example, struggle with impulse control. My friend said, I want to go for a party at 11 p.m. before an exam the next day. I'll go because I don't have that series of complete thought. And that's when the parents need to kind of step in. They need to become that child's prefrontal cortex until the child's prefrontal cortex
is fully developed. That's very interesting to know, sort of like serving as a guiding light of choices and stuff. So teenage rebellion is basically like it needs to be put down. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying that, but yeah, in a way, teenage rebellion is something that the parents also need to navigate in such a way that you understand where they are coming from, but you also have to make that little bit of choice.
Actually, it's far more nuanced than saying that we need to put it down, because in today's world with peer pressure, it's very, very difficult to really just to very overtly say that you don't have to do this or you cannot do this. That leads to more rebellion actually. So it's really about meeting the child where they are and then helping them come to your side of understanding, decision making, whatever it might be. But also accepting their own individuality at a point in time. Like if your child, for example, wants to dye their hair blue, firstly, okay, you might not like that blue color, but maybe there's a reason why this child wants to do it. Is it to fit in with their friends? Is it like a form of self-expression? Are they acting up because you said no to something else before that?
Got it.
So let's reassess the environment, which is a part of lifestyle medicine, to take a look at the entire environment around a child and then helping them navigate further on.
So in that case, does lifestyle medicine also include putting in certain things in the environment and taking certain things out of the equation so that the child can actually sort of navigate life themselves, but also can reach out to you for help in some way or the other?
So that's a really good question. And the idea of pediatric lifestyle medicine, how I see it, is that any child is really a kind of a watered down example of the environment around them. which includes the food they eat, how much they sleep, how connections with parents and other caregiving figures are, how content and how kind of safe they feel in their environment, how much support they have, how much development are they being exposed to, etc., etc.
Right.
So any child really is an expression of that environment around them. And when we think about pediatric lifestyle medicine, it's about how can we best optimize this environment to help that child with whatever he or she might be facing. Maybe that child is a healthy child and doesn't require support from a medical perspective, but requires support maybe more from a developmental perspective. Maybe the parents need help. Like you said, that I don't know what my teenager is doing, what do I do? So pediatric lifestyle medicine is for any child, because every child deserves to be a happy and a healthy child.
How would you define that, like for a lay person? How would you define pediatric lifestyle medicine for
Just this, that it's a practice of ensuring that that child's environment is conducive to support their growth in a way where they're happy, they're healthy, and they're truly living up to their maximum potential. And that, of course, in the future, they are not victim to any of these chronic conditions that we see today. So chronic non-communicable diseases, things like diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disorders, but also mental health conditions.
Right.
A lot of these roots start in childhood. And we want to ensure that children of tomorrow aren't growing up with all of this.
Got it. It also helps with proper habit forming, a proper lifestyle, a proper...
Absolutely.
Not exactly a discipline. I know discipline is a very maligned word, but discipline is also a really good word if you look at it, because if you tell your body that, hey, this is, if you do this, this is good for you. And if you make the child realize that, hey, if you do this, it's good for your body. It's not for me, it's for you.
So more than discipline, actually, I would use the word ritual here. Maybe certain rituals that kids could add to their day-to-day life that makes them live up to their maximum potential.
Got it. Speaking of maximum potential, when you say, and you also spoke about the result-oriented upbringing. Right now, because I was talking to Pranay and he told me that one of his son's kids undergoes so many extracurricular activities, like they're doing horse riding, swimming, painting, dancing. I mean, at one point of time, I think as a child, I would be exhausted right now if I go and do it at that point of time. I don't know how a 12 or a 13-year-old manages to do all of that. It can get exhausting, right?
I agree that it is something which kind of gets exhausting, not just for the child, but also imagine the parents who have to navigate this entire timetable, maybe make themselves available at these times. So it is an exhausting process. I would see this in two ways. One is that it's very good to expose children to activities, and it's important that they get access to many activities as much as it's in the means of the parents to be able to do so, and it fits in with their life also. But it's always good for a child to be exposed to many things, because that helps them figure out what they like, what they don't like. Maybe some child is put into like 5 sports and they like one sport out of it, and they find something that they enjoy and can carry forward for the rest of their life. But the flip side of this, why it becomes like a double-edged sword almost, is that on the other end, when they're really being pushed to do certain things, after a period of time, their entire brain starts working on, I have to please this person, or in this case, my parents. So I'm going to do this activity.
Right.
It becomes less about the intrinsic motivation that they have to do that particular activity. Like, for example, if your child does not like horse riding and you're forcing them to go every day, you have to go in the morning, you have to do horse riding. Maybe he or she will do it.
Got it.
But do they have an intrinsic motivation for it? Do they wake up at 6 a.m. every single morning wanting to do it? Or are they simply doing it because you want them to do it?
Right.
And then another part of it is that the amount of burden it puts on the parents, what is that taking away from the connection that they can form with their child?
Right.
Are they getting burnt out in the process where they're so edgy or anxious about, I need to take my child here. Oh, he's not performing well here. He needs to do this more, that more. She needs to go for a dance and she needs to go for art. And this friend's kid is doing 20 activities in a week, but my child is doing only 15. Why am I not being able to do 5 more? Is that taking away the connection that you can establish with your child? What is that narrative looking like?
Got it. So it also ties back to sort of overproductivity, hyperparenting, and generational trauma, if you put it, because hyperparenting can. So I read somewhere, I don't know how true this is, but I read somewhere that, you know, you can try not to mess up your kid. You can be very open with them. You can be very tight with them. You can be very close with them. But invariably, you're going to do something that is going to mess up your kid. So just be like a little relaxed about it. Just don't think too much about it. And the fact that when you over try these things, you automatically build a different kind of generational trauma maybe for the kid. Because if the kid is thinking that 6 a.m. I have to wake up to please my father or my mother, then later when the kid grows up, 25 की उम्र के बाद when the prefrontal cortex develops, also that is going to influence that.
Yeah.
My friend is asking me to do this. I don't know if it is good for me or not, but that people-pleasing personality sort of comes into play.
Absolutely, because after a point in time, you stop doing things for yourself and you want to do it simply because maybe you have to. Maybe someone told you that you should do it.
Right.
Whatever it might look like. And that's really not the environment we want to build for children.
Agreed.
Because I think the options that we've all grown up with have been limited. Maybe the options that our parents had were even more limited. But children now have an expansive amount of options to choose from. So then how are they meant to navigate all of this when they already have all of this baggage that they're carrying from childhood?
Exactly. Also, this option thing, this choice thing also becomes a very difficult thing, right? Because if you have too much of certain things, it becomes very difficult for a child. Even for us to choose, it becomes difficult. So I'm guessing even for a child, it becomes really difficult, right?
I mean, we're all living in a world of options right now. I don't think it's just a child. I think it's everyone. Adults. It's people who are much older than us also who are struggling with this thing of choice. Like, I know my grandparents and all of them also have struggled with like scrolling and all of that. Like they become addicted to their phone.
Absolutely.
When they've been introduced to it much later in their life.
Exactly.
So I think the thing about choice or that kind of fast pleasure that we get through
dopamine
social media, it's simply a game of dopamine, right? That the dopamine is not one that you will be satisfied with when you reach X amount. When you reach X, you want 2X and you want 8X and you want 16. It's never going to just stop. It's never going to plateau. Then now I have enough. So when a child gets that dopamine hit very early on in life, for them nothing is ever going to be enough. They'll constantly want more and more. And the problem with dopamine is that it was first designed to help us stay alive. We get dopamine through food. We get it through reproduction. These are ways people derive dopamine. But now there are other alternative ways of deriving dopamine. Constantly scrolling, drugs, alcohol, smoking, all of these are dopamine pathways. So it's a slippery slope once you go down it.
Got it.
You have to kind of curtail that amount of dopamine that children get earlier until their prefrontal cortex develops. Because then they're more able to make a rational decision.
Got it. That's very interesting. So one more thing because when we are talking about dopamine, the thing that popped up into my head is the word boundaries. That becomes extremely important, and not just boundaries between people. Obviously there has to be a boundary between a parent and a child. Ek boundary wahan pe bhi honi chahiye, but the boundary, if you look at it from my perspective, that I'm seeing, that there's a boundary with yourself, with the choices that you're sort of trying to make, that okay, I'm going to scroll for 30 minutes and I'm going to stop after that. I'm going to force myself to sort of stop. So how does one help kids develop that sort of boundary with themselves?
That's a really good question, and this is something that I would like to say to the parents who are watching this directly, actually, because certain things children just learn by being in that environment. And again, this is a scientific thing. It's something called mirror neurons, where if you are smiling, I smile. If I yawn, you yawn. Like, it's that power that we have as human beings to be able to understand the opposite person's emotions and behaviors and either learn it or figure out what you can do in that situation. That gives us the ability to be emotional.
Got it.
That if you are crying, I automatically understand that you're sad. Either if I'm really close to you, maybe I'll cry myself. Maybe I'll feel a little sad. Maybe I'll come and comfort you. But I have that understanding of behavior. So when it comes to what can children do to develop boundaries, firstly, let's ask the parents, what can they do to develop those boundaries? That if they are starting a family, if they have a young child, if they have a child of any age actually, take a check in your environment about your boundaries. If you are scrolling on your phone for 2 hours, it's wrong to tell your child that you can't do it. Because they're learning from the environment that they're in. Or if you're like perhaps eating, unhealthy food or or food that you should only have sometimes every single day, then that's what your child is going to suddenly pick up and keep learning on.
If you keep ordering, and your child will also be like, I also want to have that.
Yeah, sort of or like, some people constantly want new like they want to seek out new things. They constantly have that thing that I want to either get something new, I want to shop for something more, I want to do this, I want to do that. So that's what the child is also going to learn. That I want novel experiences all the time, whatever it might be. So, or the flip side of that, or the positive side of that, is that if your child sees you working really hard, they see that my parents go to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day, they learn that, okay, this is an expectation that I also have for my own self, that I'm supposed to work hard to afford a life that I would like to lead. So it's a very kind of when we think about any child, the problem is that they don't exist in isolation.
Absolutely.
They exist really as a part of the environment that they're in.
Absolutely.
So when anybody's on this journey of parenthood, whatever stage you're in, preconception, pregnancy, post that, take a look at your environment. First check that and then check your child. Because most often is that solving the external is going to solve the internal.
Absolutely.
But solving the internal is never going to solve the external. And that's going to keep affecting your child.
Got it. So in a way, if parents want to be parents, they should first understand that what would they bring to the table of sort of becoming parents, right? Because a lot of people have this especially in India, we still are expected to, after getting married, that you should have kids, you should have a complete family and everything, without checking whether that person has that appropriate, I know it's a slightly controversial topic, but there's a appropriate fitness to be a parent as well, right? We don't have a parent test of sorts that you should give this test. Only then, if you qualify, then you're qualified to be a parent.
It's like one of the most high-stakes job that anyone can have without any training, any exams, nothing like that, right?
Absolutely.
So, I think I agree in that sense that at least do a check. Before you have a child, it's okay, even if you really want a child and you feel that maybe I'm not the right parent, you still are intentional about it. You are still thoughtful about it. You are not just thinking about it that, oh, I'll have a child and then I'll figure it out. It can't be a then. It has to start earlier. Like when you start thinking of what the color of your child's nursery is going to be, you ideally should have thought about what kind of parent you want to be before that.
Exactly.
And again, then this ties in, it really circles back to my initial point that there are so many things we carry from our own childhoods, whatever they might be. Something someone else might have told us, it's not even related to our parents. External people might have told us that our school environments, our teachers, our friends, so much shapes a child. So perhaps I might have picked up something in my childhood which I really would not want for my child. But at least I can be very conscious about that when I parent that child. And that's really one of the most important things for anybody to kind of remember when they're on this process.
So, like you said about this for new parents, what do you have? What as an advice? Would you tell parents of how to develop this particular thing? If somebody comes to you with a problem that, okay, I want to give my kid the best possible chance of succeeding in this world. So, how does this lifestyle medicine? What can I apply from this lifestyle medicine quickly in 60 seconds? If you can tell us about that.
It's hard to do in 60 seconds because I spend a lot of time with parents and patients who come to me talking simply about this. And I start preconceptionally and then move on as the child progresses, because a lot of the preconception environment also determines what parents can do, bring, etc. And then that ties into the epigenetics conversation we had. But if I were to just highlight it in terms of, like, say, the top 5 things that they should be doing, the first thing is this: understanding your own self, your own patterns, your own beliefs, what you bring to the table, and similarly for your partner. What your partner brings to the table, what they need to work on, all of that. And having a very honest conversation between the two. That this is what you can bring, this is what I can bring. This is perhaps where you might lack and I can step in. We plan so much when we have to give a simple presentation, or perhaps when simply a podcast like this one. But nobody really sits and has these very detailed conversations before they try to parent or before they try to get pregnant. So that's the first thing that I would like to say. The second thing is take a check of your environment. Is your environment conducive to supporting that child's happy and healthy growth? So that includes family members. I'm not saying that you need to remove them from your environment. I'm simply saying that you need to again have a conversation with them. That this is the kind of parenting that I would like to do, and I recognize that perhaps it's not the parenting that you are used to. But this is going to be my child. So I want to do it my way. And again, in India, we live in joint families. So it's important to have that conversation without stepping on toes, without hurting people. But it's important to create that kind of boundary or that channel of communication at least. The third thing is to clean up your environment. So again, today we see so many kids who kind of get their periods a lot earlier, boys who have obesity a lot earlier in life. People struggle with so many hormonal issues. And a lot of that really is that the environment that we stay in is so full of these endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs. They're found in plastic containers that we get takeout food in. It's found in, if you're drinking coffee at your office, maybe that paper cup is actually lined with plastic as well. Perfumes, air fresheners, mosquito repellents, so much. Like, if I start naming it, it's like, what am I supposed to use? Then you said everything. But unfortunately, it is everything. So we need to check that part out. The fourth thing that I would say is take a look at gut health. So for parents who are trying to conceive a baby, their gut health, and then of course subsequently the child's gut health, is so important. One thing we overlook, like we constantly focus on brain, but our gut is our second brain. And so many processes begin and end there, that when you want your child to be healthy, have a good immune system, even honestly a lot of hormones are derived from there, a lot of neurochemicals are coming from there. So they need to have a strong gut, especially today when everything around us can disrupt our gut health.
Right.
And the fifth thing that I would say is just reassess your own patterns. Some of us, like you started off with that, were you an overachieving kid? Did your parents tell you? A lot of us have these beliefs of our own selves that I need to be the best. So now my child needs to be the best. Does that child want to be the best?
Exactly.
Not every child wants to excel all the time. Like some, or they don't want to excel in the conventional things. Like if your child doesn't get 100 on 100 in math, doesn't mean that he does not have the potential to be a good artist, perhaps.
Exactly.
But why impose that belief that you have, that I should get 100 in math in every single exam on your child? So kind of free them from that. Let's really see them as their own individual people, and then help them grow and blossom from then on.
That was very comprehensive. Thank you. I mean, everybody, if you really want to get into lifestyle medicine, here's the person you should definitely look up. We'll obviously have her Instagram in our description below. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle, for this chat. This was extremely enlightening. For everyone, guys, we at Rangman Show, the Rangman Show, we try to bring you so many good guests like Dr. Michelle here, who talk about things that actually matter. Like, for example, how to bring up your child in this world and how their environment actually shapes it completely. The nature versus nurture thing that we said. Please like, share and subscribe. And please, if you want, you can definitely look up Dr. Michelle on Instagram, and whichever handle, like you could tell the audience whichever handle that you want them to.
Instagram is good, LinkedIn is good. I'm pretty active on both of these.
So you heard the doctor. You can reach out to her at any of these channels, and please do that, and please like it, share and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into the Rangman Show. Thank you, Dr. Michelle.